Hi there, this is Anna from Anna Aspnes Designs, and welcome back to a brand new tutorial. I have been a bit absent in this space over the last couple of weeks due to all of the summer shenanigans, but I'm here with you now and I want to take a look at the ArtPlay palette Evenfall collection. So you can see on my screen we have this coordinating collection of 5 products. It includes an ArtPlay palette, an Artsy layered template, the word art, some fun grouped elements. We have some hand-painted watercolor palm tree brushes, and then also this bonus. When you purchase the entire collection, then you get this extra artsy paper. There's an additional multimedia sun, some more word art, an additional palm tree, and even this hand-painted shell. So this is something that I have incorporated into the mix over the last couple of weeks. I haven't received much feedback. I'm assuming that people are enjoying the added extras, but it's always nice to get feedback and hear about what you'd like to see more of and what you would like to see less. So this collection has been used by my creative team, and I want to today deconstruct a page using that collection, which you can see here. I'm also going to walk you through another couple of pages that have been created by the team to provide ideas and inspiration for using this particular ArtPlay palette collection. First, I'd like to walk you through the collection and provide a bit of insight into how the collection came together and what inspired me. I also like to provide you with a closer look at some of the products, and then I move into the deconstruction. So we're going to start off first of all with the ArtPlay palette, which is delivered in 2 different folders. We have the papery, which provides the artsy papers. There are 4 of them in this collection, and then we have the solid papers, which can then be combined with the artsy transfers, which are found in the second folder of the ArtPlay palette. And you can see that we have a variety of splatter and art stroke overlays. There's some gold paint, another overlay here, and then various transfers, and these transfers are in PNG format, and they provide a variety of colors and textures with blended edges, which are designed to be dragged and dropped onto the solid papers so that you can create your own custom artsy paper designs. So lots of different options here to create a variety of different custom artsy papers. And then if we return back to the first folder, you'll see I also provide you with brush sets. These are delivered in PNG and ABR format, so you can either drag the PNG file into your workspace and recolor as preferred, or you can load the ABR file, and there are 2 of them, to accommodate different versions of Photoshop and Elements. And this ABR file can be loaded into the brushes panel and used with either the eraser or the paintbrush tool in both Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. So again, lots of fun different brushes here that can be used for embellishment or blending or creating different fun edge overlays. And then we have the elements, and these add a traditional component to your digital designs. So you'll notice that we have elements within folders, and then also these elements that are in PNG format. So the ones in folders are essentially delivered in both PSD and PNG formats. So you can use the PSD file, which includes all of these different layers, or you can drag these layers into your workspace and assemble them in the program of your choosing. This provides greater customization. For example, you can change the color of each of these layers individually, or you can change the opacity of the drop shadow, for example. The other elements, you're going to be able to apply your own custom drop shadow using the layer styles in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. So that's the ArtPlay palette. I also provide you with an Artsy template, and this is a layered PSD file to which you simply have to add your photo. And in this case, you can add the photo by clipping it to a clipping mask behind the frames, or you can custom blend it with a layer mask and brushes. You can also use any of the layers in the template independently, drag them into your Artsy layout design, and use them as an additional embellishment. I also like to do this with the text box. This allows me to drag the text box into my layouts and then simply type and resize as preferred. We then have the word art collection, and this is a great way to add a title or words to support the theme of your page. And you can see that we have a beaded threads, which I provide also in PSD format so that you can actually move these beads around if you want to. We have all of these different word art elements, which can be actually stamped onto your layout in any color of your choice using the ABR file here. There are some word transfers which coordinate, and these can be applied to the background of your title. So I like to place this sort of as a foundation and then add over the top one of these titles and then perhaps support it with one of these wooden word elements. So pretty fun to kind of mix and match these to create custom titles. And if you look at the preview, you can see how I've done that in the preview. So life, the perfect escape, for example, and then you can place this word transfer in the background. I also like to add blending modes to these transfers too. That helps to knock out the background, particularly in the case of using the multiply blending mode. And then we have the multimedia suns. These are always super popular, just fun, different ways to add a sun element. I always kind of think of suns as equating to happiness. So even if you're not wanting to add a sun into your page, then you can add an element of joy into that. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're celebrating our photos with art. The other thing I like about these suns too is it sort of allows you to go back to that place you were as a child when you used to draw those pictures with a sky and a sun and trees and a house. And there's always something very whimsical and playful about adding a sun into the landscape of any sort of design. So there are 5 different elements here. And if you go into these individual folders, you'll see that I've included those both in a PSD file, so in layered format, and then each of those layers are included as individual PNG files. And this allows you to layer them up in your program of choice. So 5 of those. And then finally, we have the watercolor palm trees. And I actually spent a Friday afternoon with some watercolors and paintbrushes and hand painted all of these. And there are actually 2 sets. I came out this week with another set to coordinate. So a variety of different palm trees, and of course these can be used as individual PNG files, or you can load the brushes into your panel and use with the paintbrush tool. You can also use them with the clipping mask too, so you could clip papers to the top of these palm trees and even add blending modes. And I'm going to be talking a bit more about blending modes when we move into the layout deconstruction. And then finally, here's the bonus that you get. So I have been playing with this concept and wanting to thank my customers who support me each week by purchasing my full collection. And so I've been kind of giving back a little bit. And in this case, I provided a 5th artsy paper. And then we have these 2 hand painted brushes. There are a couple more word art pieces and some wood words. And then we also have this additional sun element, which again is delivered both in PNG and PSD format. And then last week I added to this collection further by introducing a couple more products. So we have the ArtsyKardz products, and these work really well with the FotoInspired series. So if you are wanting to kind of follow along with an artsy sort of pocket scrapbooking look to your pages, then these FotoInspired templates are ideal. And these cards are great for adding into those linear mask areas The other fun thing about these particular ArtsyKardz is that they're delivered in both PSD and JPEG formats. So you can actually open up the PSD file and work with the layers individually and come up with some really neat effects. And if you look at the videos on this AA YouTube channel, you'll find a video that shows you how to do that. And I'll actually place that link below this video so that you can find it easily. And then we have the Artsy Transfers Evenfall. These are PSD versions of the transfers. And so again, you have access to those individual layers in terms of coloring, resizing, rotating, adding effects, etc. And then I created these fun seashell brushes. So these are the basic seashell shapes with some signature artistry woven in. And then finally, here's this second set of watercolored palm tree brushes that I was alluding to earlier. In addition to this robust collection of products, my daughter Ella has also provided some digital sketches, and I've really enjoyed including these in some of my photo-inspired pages. There's a summer-themed set and then also a boho, which also leads with a summer theme as well. And these coordinate particularly well with the artistry in this collection. And so looking at these products, you do sort of see a beach theme, and that was kind of in the back of my mind as I created this. The palette came from two different sources. I had a color swatch that was provided to me by Lindy, one of my team members, and then I've also had a request a while back for a pastel colored palette. So I was weaving together this idea of summer, the beach, of these pastel colors, but I always try to extend the theme so that they can be used in a variety of ways. And so I have seen this palette used for different landscapes. London Bridge, for example, was used by one of my team members for children and babies, for ducks and flowers. And I even used it to document a photo of myself in my recent Arizona trip, where obviously the landscape is completely different. So I think that you're going to have a lot of fun playing with this collection, regardless of the type of photos that you have on hand. So let's now transition into Photoshop, and I want to deconstruct this layout by Laura. I was really struck by the clever way in which she's used blending modes with the digital art supplies in this collection to simply but effectively build up the artistry in her page. And so I have grouped a number of the elements together in her design, and I'm going to go through each of those groups independently so that you can see what she's done in each different case. So she started her page with a 12 by 12 300 layout, and then she introduced this Artsy paper number 1 Evenfall as her foundation. Then onto that, she brought in the 6th MultiMedia Sun. And so this was the one that was included in the bonus collection. And she hasn't used the element in its entirety. You can see that the actual paper part of the sun has been removed. And she's also taken this string and moved it to the top of her layout and added a screen blending mode. So lots of different ways you can manipulate the layers in these elements so that you can customize them for your page. You could, for example, have changed this orange stain here to perhaps a pink, for example. So she has customized those different layers individually. And then she introduced her photo. And if you look in my layers panel, you can see that the original photo was really dark. And so she has used different blending modes and then also the elements in the collection to brighten and improve the quality of her photo. So the first layer has a color burn blending mode applied and a layer mask. So that's how she's sort of blended the edges. She's used a paintbrush tool on the layer mask to blend out and create a gradient on those edges. She then created a duplicate copy of that layer and applied a screen blending mode. And this, of course, lightens. This was the original layer. And then she applied the color burn blending mode. And then she duplicated the layer and applied a screen blending mode. And then she duplicated the layer again, and this time added linear light. And notice how she's masked each of those layers individually. And then this is the area it gets super interesting. She introduced a number of other artsy papers. So we've got 2 more artsy papers here. This first one, she added a soft light at 32%. So if I go ahead and increase that and go to normal, you can see this was the original paper. And then I can go down and add that soft light and then bring the opacity down to 32, and you can see how that adds a nice effect to the design. Similarly, we have this second artsy paper, and this happens to be artsy paper number 4, and notice how she's applied a multiply blending mode with 100% opacity, and she's also masked that with a brush. So if I take that to normal, you can see that's what it would look like. Let's go ahead and add in the linear light. So that was the way she used those artsy papers, and then she started bringing in a ton of transfers and overlays and brushwork, and you can see this is where it gets sort of really fun. So let me go ahead and turn off some of these layers so that we can individually add them to see how this layout is brought up. And you can see that there are a lot of layers. So I'm going to go through these fairly swiftly just to kind of give you an idea of how you can layer up the different elements that you can find in your digital art supplies to create some really fun effects and also enjoy the process in doing that too. So this is brush number 4 from the ArtPlay palette. You can see how she supported this almost horizontal line that runs through her design. And then she added a transfer, and this has a color burn blending mode applied. And then we have another transfer, number 8, with an overlay blending mode applied. And then we have brush number 9. It looks like it's stamped in a sort of a peachy color. And then we have transfer number 5, and that has a multiply blending mode applied. Transfer number 3 has a color burn blending mode applied. Then we have brush number 8 with vivid light. Brush number 1 is normal, so you can see how she has repeated the use of that art stroke. And by encircling her focal point, it draws the eye to the focal point in the design. We have gold paint, which also supports that horizontal line, leads the eye to the focal point. Then we have transfer number 1 with a screen blending mode and an opacity of 16%. Brush 10 down at the bottom here provides texture and sort of contains the image. We have transfer number 9 with a color burn blending mode applied. Splatter overlay number 1 with a color dodge blending mode, and then art stroke number 1 with color burn applied. So do 2 different ways to add in those different overlays. This brush here is set on normal. We have transfer number 2, which has been masked and has the color burn blending mode applied. Brush number 5 with the color burn blending mode applied. Again, another one, brush 5 is a duplicate copy placed in a different location. Notice how that creates a really nice visual triangle and leads the eye around the design. We have an overlay applied to this transfer. We have another ArtPlay palette brush. We have another splatter. These are all set on normal. And then we have a glow here that's come from one of the multimedia suns. So notice how you can take those elements from the sun and then add them independently into your design. So tons of transfers, overlays, and brushwork there, all coming from the same ArtPlay palette. And if I turn off that group of layers, you can see the impact that those changes and those blending modes have on the different art supplies. Then she's introduced another ArtPlay palette paper. So here's the original. She reduced the opacity to 44. So there's the original paper. We reduced the opacity, and then she applied another color burn blending mode. And again, that adds some more impact to the design. It was really the punchiness of the colors that really attracted me to this page. She added in an element, and I really like how the curve of the twig follows the curve of the brushwork that she added previously. There's another multimedia sun here, and notice again how she's applied blending modes to the different layers in order to incorporate this into her design. And then we have the grass, and I like the balance, how it leads the eye diagonally from the branch to the grass. And then another multimedia sun over the grass. We're sort of building up this visual triangle here, and then she added in the elements which again support that visual triangle. Notice how we have the title up here, we have the stitching down on the bottom, so we have a trio of elements here, and then we have a trio of brushes here. And then the way that these have been grouped together, we have a cluster of elements, we have a cluster of elements, and then this sort of consumes the focal point to create another cluster. So I really like that visual triangle. It's one of my favorite ways to draw focus to the focal point. So super interesting way of using lots of digital art supplies and playing with blending modes to create some vibrancy of color and contrast in your digital designs. And it should be noted here that Laura is a Photoshop Elements user, and so there is plenty of power within this program in order for you to be able to blend elements together and achieve the same sort of vibrancy of color and artistry in your designs. I'm now going to head off into a folder that I've created with some layouts using the same digital art supplies. The first one's by Joan, and I really love her sense of humor in adding these snowmen to the beach. And then we have that layout that I was talking about of me in Arizona. Notice how I was able to incorporate the crystals and the dream catcher from the EA boho set. So just a really fun way to repurpose that beach collection and turn it into something completely different. Joan has extracted some flowers, and I love how she has intertwined those with the frames in the Artsy template with this collection. Here is the Tower Bridge image that I was referring to of London. So there's lots of ways you can change the colors. I mean, this is the beauty of Photoshop, is having that ability to be able to modify your supplies and really make them work for whatever it is that you want to celebrate. This one's by Mikey, and I really love how she has used, it looks like gradients, but it could also be a artsy paper where she has clipped those elements to those palm trees to give the brushes a completely multicolor effect. And then finally we have Beverly's layout here. I love how she's taken those digital art supplies and she's combined them with a FotoInspired template for a more traditional approach to her artistry. You'll find a lot more examples on the blog at AnnaAspnesDesigns.com and in the Anna Aspnes Designs gallery at OScraps. I'll leave those links also below this video. If you have any questions about this collection or about this video, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm always thrilled to hear from you. I'd love to read your comments to the videos, so leave them in the area below, and hopefully it won't be so long before I'm back in this space soon. In the meantime, enjoy your creating and let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye-bye.